It's the Behind the Shade show.
There's so many people that when they're looking back on their life, they realize the people that they hurt. And of course, they realize that they hurt themselves. And you came across as very apologetic to not only yourself, to not only those you have hurt, as well as you said that your daughter is not going to have the life that you had. When you share that, and maybe for those who are going through something similar, what do you think, maybe for you and maybe for others, are some of the obstacles that you would face in ensuring that you and your daughter and those close to you have a better life going forward?
What are some of my obstacles? Well, for me, a huge obstacle is the fact that I'm medically disabled. I have rheumatoid arthritis. I developed it when I was 33 years old. At 35 is when I was just no longer able to work. Um, so my medical disability is a huge obstacle. And, that along with being widowed, um, I I was just functioning. I was just trying to make it through the day. And after my husband passed, it took everything just for me to get to the grocery store. I stayed in bed for 4 months. I got my daughter ready for school, got her to school, and I stayed in bed. So my health is absolutely a challenge that I deal with to this day. Um, and challenges to healing, I repressed so much. And in my book, Unbroken, I I use the metaphor of a brick wall, that each trauma I endured is a brick, and the mortar is made from my tears. And every trauma, I just laid a new brick and another and another. And finally, that wall got so high that not even I could see over it. And I was insulated, but it also meant that I was, as I mentioned earlier, numb. I wasn't feeling anything. And it really didn't occur to me. I didn't know I was numb until I started writing this book. And talking about triggers, each time that I went to write, I was severely triggered. It was I've read somewhere or heard that when the brain cannot differentiate between trauma that's 20 years old versus trauma that's happening now in real time. So, okay, awesome. So that is accurate. Terrain gave me the thumbs up. So, writing Unbroken Life Outside the Lines, it's taken me 5 years, and it's been friggin' brutal, brutal, because each trauma, in order to write about it, I've relived it, and I've had that experience. And my husband I'm remarried, an incredible man. He is so ready for me to be done with the book because he just wants his happy wife back. For the last 5 years, he's come home to, oh, I just wrote about drug and alcohol addiction, for several hours. And one thing that I did, so I was a ward of the state of Texas until I was 18. My mother, my schizophrenic, physically abusive mother, she relinquished rights. And when I was 20 years old, I received a piece of paper from Children's Protective Services saying, hey, if you want your case file, you need to ask for it. Otherwise, we're going to dump it. And I actually asked for it. I wanted to see what was written down about me. So I have my CPS documents, and they sat either under a couch or in a closet for the last 2 decades. I would start to go through them, and I would get triggered and so overwhelmed that I just put the lid back on the box and shoved it back under the couch. In fact, they're still there. They're under the couch now. But I started going through that file, and that was one of the things. There are two reasons that I wrote Unbroken. And the foster mother that I lived with, she did more damage to me than my mother, and I was very angry about that. And there was no retribution available. There was no way to punish her. So, and I went to 13 schools by the time I graduated high school. So I got very good at meeting new people and the social engagement and keeping the conversation always about the other person, never about myself. But the few times that I did talk about myself, I would always hear, you should write a book. I've been told that since I was like 16 years old. And I've not been ready. I have just emotionally and I guess in life, I've not had the availability or the luxury, or I shouldn't use the word luxury. It's not a luxury to heal from your trauma. Um, but I was busy one foot in front of the other, and I didn't have room. Let's call it room. I didn't have room for my trauma. So writing Unbroken. And my daughter graduated high school, so she didn't need me. She doesn't need me as much. So it opened up availability. It gave me an opportunity to start writing, and those events that I mentioned, writing about them, it was hell. It was awful. And I'd love to say that, yes, I'd write it again in a minute, but the truth is, I have a hard time reading the manuscript. Like right now, it's in for editing, and they send it back to me and say, okay, read it, make sure. And I have a hard time. It just sitting down and doing it because I relive it. So I don't think I'm all the way healed, but I'm working on it. I am working on it.
Going from a difficult childhood with your mother and then going to a difficult experience with your foster parent, that could leave the average person thinking that, oh my goodness, all of this is happening to me. Why
Mm,
is this happening to me? And I know a few people that have gone from their birth parents to a foster parent, and some of the questions they ask themselves is, am I worthy of being loved in the way that I need to be loved? What were some of the questions, if not that one, were you asking yourself when you're going through these difficult period, person after person, and you're trying to evaluate your own value, your own love, your
sure.
own worthiness?
So, Train, I can tell you, after my mother would beat me, she would send me to the shower. And as early as fifth grade, I remember being in the shower, and that's where I could cry and I could scream and I could let out all of my emotions, things that I couldn't let out during the school day. That became my outlet, if you will. And I remember praying and asking God, why? Why do I have a crazy mother? Why am I the one that's going through all this? Why are you doing this to me?